So there's a story that has developed over the last couple of weeks in the NFL regarding Tim Tebow. Apparently, Tim Tebow received an offer to work out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, to the normal, everyday person, just the casual fan, nobody probably would have picked up on the story until they saw the backlash that came from it, or all of the controversy that came from it. So, to me, it's really not that big of a deal. But to some people, it is everything when you talk about race in America and race in the NFL. So, Rob Parker, who is a sportscaster, the co-host of the sports talk show The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard. He is also a journalist who has written multiple articles for multiple different outlets. It insists that the only reason that Tim Tebow got a chance to work out for the Jacksonville Jaguars was because of white privilege. In an article that Parker posted or wrote for Deadspin a little over a week ago, he says, quote, "It's official. Tim Tebow is the white privilege king. Just when we thought we were done with everyone in sports bending over backward for someone totally not worthy, comes a report that Tebow recently worked out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And get this, it wasn't for a quarterback spot, but to play tight end in the NFL. As crazy as the scenario all sounds, it fits when it comes to Tebow. For whatever reason, the powers that be keep trying their darndest to hook Tebow up with a job in professional sports, despite the fact that he isn't very good and has failed at more than one sport and is now 33. There can only be one reason. Other white people with power like him apparently will do whatever they can to help him succeed." Now, I don't agree with this at all. And in fact, there was actually a segment of the Odd Couple show where him and Chris Broussard, Rob Parker and Chris Broussard, go back and forth on this issue, and Chris Broussard didn't agree with him either. But let me make a point about the white privilege thing. The term white privilege is really a two-edged sword, and it has a dual meaning. So the first and most obvious meaning is that if you say somebody has white privilege, that means that the only reason that they have succeeded, the only reason they get certain opportunities is simply because they're white. Like there's some kind of aura that radiates off of them and gives them and helps them accomplish whatever they want to accomplish. Okay, the other meaning is when you say white privilege, okay, for white privilege to actually work, racism has to be involved. So if you're saying that somebody gets a certain opportunity or succeeds in a certain area simply because they are white, that means that there must be somebody who is willing to give them that opportunity solely based off of the color of their skin. So in this particular situation, Rob Parker is insinuating that Tim Tebow only got this offer because he's white. So for that to actually work, Urban Meyer and the Jaguars organization would have also had to give Tim Tebow the offer simply because he's white. So in a roundabout way, Rob Parker is insinuating that Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars organization is racist, which is kind of a disgusting thing to do when you don't have any real evidence. And the thing is, to add context to the story, it's not that, oh, well, Tim Tebow gets a random offer by a random NFL team to come and try out at tight end. No, Urban Meyer is the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he was also the coach of Tim Tebow at Florida when they won a championship. And they have apparently they've remained friends throughout their ever since they parted ways from Florida. So they are old friends. And another thing is that when Tim Tebow started in the NFL, he really wanted to be a quarterback, right? That was the thing. But a lot of people quickly saw that he wasn't going to be able to keep up at the quarterback position. So many people were saying to try him out at another position, specifically the tight end position. So this is not a new thing. Tim Tebow playing tight end is not a new thing in the NFL. It's not the first time that people have said that Tim Tebow should play tight end. And And I understand that at this point, Tim Tebow is more of a celebrity than an athlete, but he's one of the greatest college football players of all time. And he's an upstanding individual. He's, with all of his charity work and all of the things that he has done, he's a celebrity, he's popular, and all those different things. If you want to make everything racial, you can make everything racial. But there's a lot of other information, there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes in this story. And so to say that it's simply just because of race, I think is kind of a cop-out. And I think that Rob Parker is really, really reaching on this one. And Rob Parker is a successful African-American man who has made a living off of commentating on other successful African-American men, but he goes out of his way to look at Tim Tebow, who hasn't been relevant in the NFL for years. He basically just gets his magnifying glass out and says, "Oh, that's got to be, white privilege. It doesn't matter that the majority of the NFL players are black, the majority of NBA players are black. None of that matters." And it goes back to the whole identity politics argument. And that is, there's no context to the story. Like I said, Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow being friends, Tim Tebow potentially playing tight end when he first started for the NFL, like that adds context to the story when somebody just comes out and says it's all about race. But that's what identity politics has done. That's what the identity politics argument is that we're not going to focus on any of the context behind the story. We're not going to focus on the individual. We're not going to focus on who the person is, his character, the decisions that he's made, the different things that he's accomplished. We're just going to focus on the color of her skin. So, and stuff like this happens because people are celebrities. This isn't the only time that somebody has gotten an extra opportunity simply because they're a celebrity. Okay, that's why Carmelo Anthony was able to stay in the NBA for so long after he was clearly past his prime and clearly not a good player anymore. Okay, and even LeBron James got offers to work out in the NFL during the 2011 lockout, even though it had been years since he played football, especially at that level. Actually, he never played at that level. But it's LeBron James. Doesn't matter if he hasn't played in a long time. Doesn't matter if he's never played at that level. Doesn't matter if we know whether or not he can play. It's LeBron James. And whether he sucks or not, he was going to sell jerseys. And I feel like that's kind of the situation with Tim Tebow here, as well as him being lifelong friends with Urban Meyer. And Chris Broussard actually made an interesting point while they were going back and forth that getting your magnifying glass out and picking out the dumbest, the smallest, the stupidest little stories and making it all about race, the most irrelevant racial story, and blowing it up into some kind of big racial conspiracy is taking away from instances of real racism. If you're going to look at every time somebody gets an opportunity and simply make it about race, you can make it about race. You can make every situation about race. But that doesn't mean it's true. That doesn't mean it's relevant. And especially when you reach as far as to make this particular story about race, it's really going to turn people off. And again, going back to what I said, not only are you saying that Tim Tebow only got this opportunity because he's white, you're also insinuating that Urban Meyer is a racist and the Jacksonville Jaguars organization is racist, which is a very foolish thing to do. So can we please stop nitpicking all of this stuff? Because this is not a racial issue. This is not a racial story. And I have no problem. If you think that Tim Tebow shouldn't be in the NFL, that's fine. And I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with you. In fact, I don't even really care. But when somebody goes out of their way to try and make it about race, and they go out of their way to try and insinuate all of some nasty things, then I have a problem with it.